Hello YouTube divers, this is WaterDive122 and I want to welcome you all to another episode of Magic Metal Mondays. Today we are going to be taking a look at one of my all-time favorite metal albums from one of my all-time favorite metal bands. We're going to be talking about Rain in Blood by none other than Slayer. Slayer! I love doing that. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Rain in Blood by Slayer, which came out in 1986. Produced by none other than the legendary Rick Rubin. This is pretty much a freaking metal classic. I mean, the whole metal community knows about this album. All the Slayer fans, of course, know this album. All the thrash metal fans, basically everybody, as I've said. This is a freaking masterpiece. And if you remember from my Slayer album rankings that I did, this one was at the top of my list. And we're going to see why here coming up in this review. So, without wasting any more time, let's dive into the masterpiece that is Rain in Blood. So, the album opens up with Angel of Death, which is one of the most iconic thrash metal songs of all time. One of the most iconic metal songs. Now, this song is very controversial. The most controversial song that Slayer ever released. The lyrics were written by none other than the late Jeff Hanneman. And they were basically about Joseph Mengele and his horrific experiments during the Holocaust. I'm not going to really get into more details on that. I saw a fellow YouTuber do a whole analysis of this song and why it was deemed so controversial and why it was a huge risk for Slayer to put it on the album, because the record label initially dropped them because they would not release Rain in Blood with Angel of Death on it. And Slayer basically refused to drop the song, and so their label ended up dropping them. But Rick Rubin took them into a different record label, and they released the album in October of '86. And as they say, the rest is history. But Angel of Death, in of its own self, is a masterpiece. If you ignore the lyrics, which it's easier said than done, but if you really just ignore the lyrics and if you listen to if you take out what this song was about, then and you just listen to the vocals from Tom Araya, the amazing guitar solos by both Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman, and the amazing drumming by Dave, the godfather of the double bass pedal, Lombardo, then there's no denying that this song is a freaking classic. And, it perfectly sets the tone and mood for what you're going to experience with Rain in Blood. Now, oh gosh, let's quickly move on before I start babbling on about Angel of Death again. Moving on to the second track on the album, Piece by Piece. Piece by Piece is a freaking amazing song. It's thrashy, it's heavy, it's Slayer being Slayer. I mean, killer riffs, killer solos, killer drumming, killer vocals, killer everything. This is a freaking amazing song. And then after that, you get the shortest track on the album, and one of my favorites from this one of my favorite Slayer songs of all time, and that is the 1 minute and 40-second long Necrophobic. Woo! My goodness gracious, this is a freaking killer track. I mean, killer. I mean, everything from Tom Araya's speedy vocals to Jeff Hanneman and Kerry King shredding it out on the guitar, to Dave Lombardo freaking amazing drumming. This, again, like I said with the previous two songs, this is classic Slayer. Classic Slayer. Then after that, you get a song called Altar of Sacrifice. And like with Angel of Death, this song does have rather controversial lyrics. There was actually a devastating story connected to this song that was remotely inspired by this song. I'm not gonna go into detail about it because it was very sad about what happened, but we're not gonna get into that. But if you lyrics aside, lyrics meaning behind aside rather, this is a freaking amazing track. Altar of Sacrifice, I would definitely say, is one of the best tracks on the album, even though it's outside of my top 3 on the album, but it's still great. Moving on to track number 5 here, we got the song Jesus Saves. And no, this is not Savage's Jesus Saves. That's a completely different song. Slayer's Jesus Saves hits you in the freaking mouth. I mean, it's fast, it's thrashy, it's short, it's freaking Slayer being Slayer, and they're just like, let's just freaking have fun. Let's just freaking have fun, man. This is our time. This is our album. Let's have fun with this. And here on Jesus Saves, it just beautifully showcases that perfectly. Then moving on to track number 6, you got Criminally Insane, which was originally a bonus track, but this somehow made it onto the album, and I'm so glad it did. This is freaking killer. Another one of the more heavier songs on the album, another one of the more thrashier songs on the album. It's just top notch, insane. If there's one word that I can describe this song, it's insane. Ironically enough, the song is called Criminally Insane. So, how about that? Moving on to track number 7 is Reborn. Now, these next 2 songs are what I consider to be the weakest tracks on the album. They're probably some of the lesser known songs that Slayer ever wrote. I mean, you wouldn't know unless if you were going through the entire album that these next 2 songs would exist. Reborn is one of them. I mean, I love Reborn. It's a really, really, really strong track. It just doesn't pack the same punch as some of the other songs on this album does. And for that reason, it's kind of weak sauce, but even that's not saying much because, every song on this album is just kick butt. Same thing with the next song, Epidemic. Epidemic's a really good song, but again, it has more or less the same issues as Reborn. It just doesn't have that same punch as some of the other songs on here do. Like Altar of Sacrifice, like Angel of Death, like Piece by Piece, and like the next song, Mortem. Oh my goodness gracious, Mortem. I mean, that riff. One thing I forgot to mention about Epidemic is that it has a killer riff. Same thing can be said here about Mortem. I cannot talk right today. Sorry, guys. Mortem is just fast. Actually, it starts off rather groovy. It starts off really, really groovy. And then at the very end, it just blows your mind away with classic Slayer solos, classic Slayer riffs, classic Slayer rhythms, classic Slayer everything. Basically it just showcases, literally repeats some of the main elements that this album already has. And then it feeds into my favorite song off of this album, and my favorite Slayer song of all time. The classic, iconic, and influential as I will get out metal song entitled Raining Blood. When I say that this is a classic, this is a freaking classic. Best song on the album, easily. I mean, like I said, I love all the other songs on this album, including Angel of Death, which is my second favorite off of this one. But when it comes to Raining Blood, it has such a very special place inside of my heart, because this was the song that got me into Slayer. I mean, I heard the opening riff and I was like, holy goodness gracious, I need to check this out. And when I did, I was blown away. and I've been a Slayer fan ever since. Or at least I've liked Slayer ever since. It wasn't really until it was kind of like the situation where I had with Halloween. Like I heard one song from Halloween and I was like, okay, that was pretty good. And then I came across another song and I was like, holy goodness gracious, this band is amazing. I need to check out more of their stuff. And the same story can be here with Slayer. Like I heard Raining Blood for the first time, I was like, holy goodness gracious, this is amazing. And then I can't remember what was the second Slayer song I heard. I think it was South of Heaven. Yeah, it was South of Heaven. And I was like, okay, this band is for real. What else you got? And I've been a Slayer, and I've loved Slayer ever since. Raining Blood, without a doubt, is my favorite song on the album. My favorite Slayer song, and one of the best metal songs I have ever heard. It's just, I never get tired of this track, and my goodness gracious, it is fun as I will get out to play on the guitar. Like, whenever I have my guitar in E-flat tuning, Raining Blood is one of my go-to songs. Mainly because the iconic riffs, the iconic vocals, the iconic everything about this song just makes me love this song even more. Raining Blood is a classic song. Like with Angel of Death, I highly think that it deserves the love and praise that it gets from not only Slayer fans, but not only thrash metal fans, not only Slayer fans, but from the metal community in general. If you have not heard that song, go listen to it right now. Especially if you love heavy and aggressive thrash metal, like with bands from like Dark Angel or Creator or Sepultura. If you have not checked out Slayer yet, go to Raining Blood, listen to the song Raining Blood. It is, trust me, it's 30 minutes of absolute brilliance. And that is why my final rating of Raining Blood from 1986 by Slayer is a solid 10 out of 10. It is one of my favorite albums of all time, not just by Slayer, not just in metal, but by anybody. If you remember from my top 10 albums video that I did several months ago, this one was at number 6. Honestly, I might do a part 2 of my top 10 albums of all time, because has my opinion changed on some of the albums. But yeah, I am really thinking about doing like a part 2. I'll still keep the original up so you all can see what my initial opinions were. Some of them I have not changed at all. But Raining Blood is going a little bit higher for me because it's just that great of an album. 10 out of 10. Perfect album. Flawless from start to finish. It's a classic for a reason, and it totally deserves the love and respect and the influence that this album receives. So with that said, that concludes this edition of Magic Metal Mondays. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is WaterDive 122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.